Good morning. My name is Debby Miran. I'm a former commissioner with the state of Maryland's Medical Cannabis Commission. I currently am in the private sector, consulting to the industry, as well as advising various states on their growing programs. I graduated with a degree in chemistry from Iowa State and went immediately into the healthcare industry as a QC chemist, entry-level position with a company out in Palo Alto, California. And then I proceeded to spend the next 30 years basically in either generic drugs or in brand name drugs, graduating from drug development into regulatory affairs and drug submissions. So my background has always been in the healthcare industry. I got sick the beginning of 2000 and lost about 10 years of my career dealing with my leukemia, and then got back into this new industry sort of serendipitously. I had been a patient and I had used cannabis to help relieve my wasting syndrome post-bone marrow transplant. And so that brings me to where I am today as far as my work with this other industry. My experience as a patient meant everything. First of all, it was what got me on the commission. I was the first patient advocate to be appointed by then Governor O'Malley, and it gave me the perspective that I thought no one else on the commission had, having benefited from its use, which is part of the legal definition of the patient advocate. The state of the industry right now as far as education, we've got higher level education, which is basically the university setting. We are seeing now that some of these schools, most notably University of Vermont, University of Washington, and other schools have incorporated electives into their programs. I hope to see that grow. I would like to see it grow in Maryland as well. We have the benefit of having an excellent law, which is very welcoming to patients and providers and to growers and processors. Every aspect of our law and rule invites. Thus, we had over 1,100 applications when this process began in 2015. So I would say we have things that we need to do better, and regulations are dynamic, and they're supposed to grow and change as we gain knowledge or as we find things that we could have done better. So I expect it will continue to grow and change. As far as what the medical community needs to know about the science, the medicine, and the pharmacology, I would say everything. We know that there's a spectrum of knowledge right now. There are some that know nothing, and there are some that are quite well educated, impressively. So in my work as an educator now, I size the audience up, and we know where we have to start. And in some cases, it's at the very beginning. But that's okay, because those people, if they're interested, will learn and become more motivated to self-educate. As we know, the internet is loaded, and just like any other medical information on the internet, some of it is well vetted and some of it isn't. I would continue to steer patients toward the commission. They have an education committee right now. I would steer patients toward talking to people that have some knowledge, because it is a task to sort through what's available in the published domain. And I would want to make sure that patients read and understand things that are accurate. As a former commissioner, we suffered through the very beginnings, the earliest stages, and I like to say we didn't have an executive director, we didn't have a budget, and we didn't have any staff resources. But we were offered a conference room and a tablet and a piece of paper and a pencil and said, here's the code to the Xerox machine. And so that's how the beginning of the regulations in Maryland took place. And it was all volunteer time. I calculated once probably 4,000 volunteer hours over the course of my commission. We took heat for things that were done poorly or done slowly or ineffectively, but we got the program off the ground. And I want to say to the people that have inherited this program, the new commission, to carry it on and make it better. I think that there's people that have been appointed now that are going to have the desire to learn. They have got to, though, self-educate. The commission itself isn't going to educate people on the science and the medicine. That has to come from them. And I can speak for myself. It was a long haul, and it was a very steep learning curve. But the more you learn, it feeds on itself, and I'm hoping that the new commission will take that challenge on for themselves, because it'll just make them better.